Hey, how you doing? Neil from Perth Rangehood. Today we were in I can't speak today. Right. Hey, how you doing? Neil from Perth Rangehood. Today we were in Nedlands installing an angled canopy on a stud wall. So we got there, nutted out the job, we put the flue in the roof, mounted the range hoods, connected both of those together. Then we cleaned up, tested the range hood, and the customer was happy. I was just packing up and the electrician comes in and he goes, "Oh, you've put a TV on the wall." So we arrived in Nedlands to see this beautiful old 50s build. The customer had actually won it in an auction, and they are renovating the house, ready for their family to move in. The kitchen area looks like it's been added on as an extension, and it's got a lower roof than the rest of the house. So that was an interesting one, and also they've got an angled canopy on an angled ceiling. So naturally we just want to get in there and protect the surfaces and set up my little working area so I'm ready to start work. And as soon as I got in there, I realised that there was a stud wall that we had to mount the range hood to. So the range hood has actually got quite a lot of toughened glass on it, which is why in the first glance it looks like a telly. So naturally I started measuring up and working out how I'm going to mount this weighty range hood to a stud wall. Mounting something as heavy as that to a stud wall means that there has to be some reinforcement inside the wall, or a plate inside the wall that we can fix to. So I cut a hole in the wall and actually fashioned a piece of 18mm marine ply that I had available in the ute. So as you can see here, I made my own pocket holes in this timber bracing that I've put inside the wall to sit flush. And naturally it just makes sense to put the plasterboard back into the hole that it came out of. And then obviously I made sure that that timber bracing is actually wide enough to accommodate screws for the plasterboard to go back into. And at this point I really like to make good where I can, so I used some filler over that and let that dry. So while that was drying, I went up on the roof and started measuring the flue and installing that so we can connect it to the range hood. So luckily the roof wasn't that steep, so it was quite nice to work on. I wanted that penetration to be directly above the range hood because the nature of the roof and the ceiling meant that there was only about 100mm to play with. So it's not like I can crawl in there and then move the ducting and connect it to the flue. I can't do that. So it has to go, path of least resistance straight up into the flue into outside air. So I had to make sure that that hole for that penetration was cut exactly right. Because there's such a shallow penetration through the roof, there's no way to secure the flue inside the roof. So I decided to modify a bracket into a stay, which meant that it keeps the flue nice and sturdy. So once the stay was installed, I could then seal the penetration around the flue itself and then pull the deck tight down and fashion that over the roof and then seal around that as well. So that's double sealed, which means that when it rains, it means that if anything fails there, you've got two fail safes. You've got the deck tight, which is sealed to the roof, and you've also got the flue that is sealed to the penetration in the roof or going through the roof. So double sealed means no leaks. So after the flue went in, I went back inside and the filler was touch dry so I could start working on the range hood. Now, I'd already marked up where that was going to go, so I just measured up where the screw holes were going to sit for the range hoods and then put them in because I'd already drawn up the wall and then mounted the range hood to the wall. Happy days, and then screwed that back inside the range hood. The next thing to tackle here was the ducting covers, which is the cover that goes over the ducting, which is connected to the flue, which goes through the roof. Because they had an angled ceiling, the ducting cover can't just sit flush to a flat ceiling because it's on an angle. So I spent a long time measuring this and working out how I was going to cut the ducting cover, because you've only got one ducting cover that comes with the range hood. So if you mess that up, you've got no ducting cover. So you'd be really pleased to know that I didn't mess that up. It worked really well, it looked really nice, and the customer was really pleased with that. So happy days. The only thing left to do here was to install the front plate onto the range hood itself, test the appliance. So I plugged it into the GPO that was working for the tradesman, tested all of that out, And once that was tested, the only thing that was left to do was to clean up and take some photos, send them to the customer, and off ski back home to make this video. So yeah, interesting install, looks like a telly, it isn't, it's a Rangehood, works really well, the customer's happy. So that's another install done by Perth Rangehoods. If you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, please like and subscribe. We've got some more content coming. And with that, if you can think of someone that might also really like this content and find it useful, they might also be installing a Rangehood in the near future as well. And even copy and paste this link into a text and just send it to them and say, hey, check this out. This is something you might be interested in. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.